Do you have a girlfriend that lives in Canada? Well, Zach Braff does. What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, and I'm a blind film critic. This is French Girl. I watched this with an MGM Plus add-on to Prime Video channels where it had audio description. So, yay! I stayed through the whole thing. There were no credits at the end. I don't know who made this. Immaculate Conception audio description, apparently. This is Zach Braff. William Fichtner's in this, which is odd because he doesn't usually do comedy, but cool. It's mainly a Zach Braff vehicle, and he plays a teacher whose girlfriend is a chef who gets an opportunity. Well, they're about to be on break, and they've got this like trip planned, and she gets an opportunity from an old friend who they used to, get it on from this other female chef, and who's risen and now has her own restaurant and is looking for an executive chef, and is offering her the opportunity to come up to Canada and kind of like audition for the position against a couple other people. And she thinks this is a huge opportunity for her, so she's really excited about it. And she wants to go up there, and it's going to kind of throw off their vacation plans. Zach Braff gets fully behind this. He's busy teaching his kids about Shakespeare, and they don't really want to listen. And he's got a dad that is, I don't know. I don't really know what they're trying to do with William Fichtner's character here, but he's all over the place. All over the place as a character. He represents everything and nobody at the same time. Whatever values you think you have, whatever values you think your parents have, he has them and doesn't have them. All of them at the same time. It's a very complex character. I could not get a read on what they were trying to say or not say with this character. Very weird. So he's not in it that much, but every time he's doing something, it just seems like he's doing something because it's funny and not really because it has any relevance, or like they thought about what his character is trying to say or do. He's not one of those fathers that like passes wisdom on. He's one of those fathers that's like, oh yeah, you're a fuck up. Oh no, go get the girl. Oh shit, I roofied my son. And it's just like, what is the train of thought here? What is happening with this character? And William Fichtner's just not that deep of a comedic actor to really make this work. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird character. Anyway, Zach Braff follows his French girlfriend, actress I don't know, to Canada, where she gets auditioned, and he gets to meet her family. Of course, on the jet ride, he gets roofied by his father because his father gave him like a relaxant, because I guess when he was a kid, he had a bad flying experience and he hasn't flown since. And his dad thinks that Zach Braff isn't going to fly well, so he's like, here, take this. And so Zach Braff also drinks 4 things of wine and then takes a pill, so that's on him, bro. It wouldn't matter if that was a roofie or not. You took a pill with 4 things of wine. That's you. That is not your dad. It didn't matter what that was. Very few things are supposed to be mixed with 4 glasses of wine. And it is 4, by the way, because before he takes the pill, he's like, I've only had 3.5 glasses of wine. And then he takes the pill and finishes the 4th glass. It's 4 glasses of wine. So, yeah, he's had. So they're going up there. She has a family, and when we get up there, it's a lot of French. It's a lot of French. Her family predominantly speaks French, almost all the time. So they do have a son who wants to be a police officer, who interestingly needs Zach Braff's English teacher knowledge to help him learn English so that he can, because Canada's bilingual, you can't just speak French to be a police officer. You have to be able to speak both. And he doesn't speak enough English, fluently enough, to be a police officer. So he keeps failing the English part of the test. Very interesting storyline for that part. I love how they roped in the English teacher thing. I was like, wow, they made that work. Cool. They made him useful. Huh. Um, okay. Usually people are just like English teachers, you know? Like, I feel like Ben Stiller's teacher thing in Meet the Parents is sort of like, well, he's a teacher. You know, like, well, you know, or she's a teacher, but whatever the two things were, like they're just like there's a teacher element in that film, and they're just like, I don't know, it's like we're not going to use it, but we're going to put it in there because people like teachers. Here they're like, well, he's a teacher, and oh my god, his skills are actually going to be put to use. Somebody actually needs to be taught English. Wow. um Meanwhile, his girlfriend Sophie is off trying to impress this ex that she dated for a while. And they broke up, and so obviously Sophie's bisexual, which cool. Love that representation. I love the fact that Zach Braff is also not thrown by it deeply. He's not like, oh, what the, you know, he's more just like, why didn't you tell me that, that kind of thing. Like, I should probably know that you're fighting to work for your ex. I feel like that's a valid thing, and I kind of supported him. And then I'm like, yeah, I feel like that is, yeah, I feel like that's, why would you hide that unless there's a reason to hide it? Unless you're hiding something in your emotions that you don't want to be honest about. So he gets a little kooky. He does a lot of weird shit with the family. He's trying to make a good impression, but he keeps doing things that are not making a great impression, like killing a swan while being attacked by one, and it just there's a bunch of things. So, and meanwhile, we see that clearly the chef is making a play. Clearly, this whole thing is like her play to get her ex back, and she's got this thing, and she can offer her this job, and she can kind of swoop in. Meanwhile, Zach Braff is just an English teacher, so what's he gonna do? He's just like low key helping her brother learn English. So it's like he financially doesn't have the means to offer her the world. But he is planning on proposing, and he did ask his dad for his mom's ring and stuff like that. So that is like on the docket at some point while they're up there. He wanted to kind of meet the family and hopefully get the family to like him. And that's kind of the journey of the film. And I don't want to give any more than that. That's you kind of will get where the film's going and feel. Believe it or not, the Shakespeare thing comes back around. Sort of. I don't know. This is kind of just like I don't know. This feels like it would be like a Netflix like movie of the week sort of thing for Zach Braff, but I guess it got a theatrical release. There's nothing really particularly special here about this film or like amazing. It's just kind of like Zach Braff hasn't made a movie in a while, and this is a solid use of his talent. But there's nothing really revolutionary about the plot of the film that you feel like you haven't seen before in other films. The only thing that really challenges you and what makes it feel sort of like more artistic is the fact that the cast speaks predominantly French and he does not. He understands it. So like when people speak, he can understand what you're saying, but he is not fluent enough to speak it. So he's studied French enough, which is sort of impressive in and of itself. So he basically, like, somebody will say something in French and he'll just respond in English. Now, in terms of the audio description, this is like the worst case scenario, worst best case scenario, something like that. One of those two things. So what I love about the audio description is it's very descriptive in terms of, I mean, there were some times where they were describing what the characters were wearing, and I felt like I almost got like underwear. You know what I'm saying? Like I got so much detail, like out of like hairstyle, facial hair. Like they actually remarked that Zach Braff was clean shaven at one time. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, that's sometimes we point out when somebody has a beard. We don't always point out when they're clean shaven. I was like, there's a lot of character description here. There's a lot of really great in-depth costuming, a lot of, making sure that sort of like if he's wearing like an overcoat, and like what does a coat look like, and then what does the shirt underneath it look like, what does pants look like, like as much description as you can get in that regard. Um, Not really as much of a racial breakdown, but it's possible that they're just doing a defaulting thing. Maybe the whole cast here is white and they just were like, I don't know the other actors. The only actors that I know in here happen to be white actors. So that's what I got. And the rest of it is just, yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of really solid description here. Like they end up, when they get to Canada, they stay in the brother's room, and then he has to go sleep somewhere else. And there's a really great description of his room, like with the MMA posters and everything all over the walls. So yeah, I felt like the audio description in terms of that stuff was really pretty good. Like there are some times when it really dives in and goes all out and is like, this is what we're gonna do. This is the audio description we're gonna do. It's a little bit of ducking, but not really, not a lot. Just kind of in scenes where nothing is happening and there's some like really loud song playing for no apparent reason whatsoever. It's like the audio description finds it to be more important to describe the action that's happening. So I kind of approve of it because, again, nothing suffers. But yeah, you will notice that the sound kind of backs off a little bit in favor of the audio description track. The reason why I said like best worst case scenario is, unfortunately, this is cheap. It's cheap audio description. They paid for the cheapness here, and it is one person doing all of the narration. And I will tell you that both men and women speak in French, and they're having to speak to each other in French. So this one poor lady who's doing the audio description is having to do the English translation for all of these characters. And I had this problem with Teacher's Lounge where I actually started to lose train of thought as to who was speaking to who. I was like, I don't know. When it gets kind of really fast with a lot of characters going on top of each other, it got really hard. There are some scenes, there are little fleeting moments where I can kind of hear an actor underneath the dubbing, which helps a lot to be able to hear that, especially when you have a female voice narrating a male character. But there were times like when the brother came in the room. The first time the brother came in the room, I didn't even realize what had happened. Like when he introduced himself, I thought he was a child because it was it's a female voice. And I forgot he was being dubbed because I couldn't hear his voice. And then later on, I heard a little bit of it. Like he got a little bit louder and he got above the audio description. And I was like, oh my God, that's a grown man. Oh, that's the audio description. You know what I'm saying? Like, I legitimately was like, oh, it's a child. I was like, oh, this is like a 12-year-old, like 13-year-old. No. Who's like 26. So yeah, it created a very sort of confusing, and that's why you really just fucking pay for more people, man. Just pay for the audio description. We should be getting. You should want quality audio description that highlights the best of your film. This is an extension of the film. What audio description does is it complements the film. You don't want to pay for audio description that hinders the film or causes people to go, I don't know what that is. What the hell's happening here? What's going on here? I don't know. I can't follow this. That's completely contrary to what audio description does. So the fact that that's kind of what the audio description does, whenever they refuse to pay for multiple voices for a film that clearly needs them, because you have just one guy. I mean, if the female narrator who does the primary narration for this has to also dub the female characters, fine. you know, but at least bring in a guy, for the male sounding voices, because I truly thought he was a little child until I could actually hear his voice, like the male tone in his voice above the level of the audio description. So totally threw me off. I was like, wow, it's a 13-year-old. And he's like, oh, I want to be a cop. And I was like, this 13-year-old wants to be a cop? He failed the test? What's going on here? Like, I didn't. It's like, this plot makes no sense. So I eventually picked up on it. And now but I shouldn't in the moment have had to. So mostly I think this is kind of like it is what it is. How much do you like Zach Braff? Have you been missing him on your screens? Are you a huge fan of Scrubs and you're like, oh my God, I need Zach Braff? Then you like this movie. Again, I don't really know anybody in the French Canadian cast. So nobody really up there kind of altered my mind about anything. And William Fichtner here, honestly, not my favorite performance of his, and his character's just really oddly written. So the film's okay. Audio description, some of it is really great, and then some of it is just unfortunate, but has nothing to do with the narrator. Like, it's not their fault. That is not her fault that she was the only person paid to do this. I don't think the audio description company turned down. I don't think there was like an argument between the studio where the studio was like, we'd like to pay for more, and they were like, no. We do things with one narrator and one narrator only. You mother, like, I don't think that happens in audio description. How dare you suggest that we need to bring in more voice talent than just one person? I don't think that's a thing. So I think it's what are you willing to pay for when you have an international film? Are you willing to pay a little bit more money to get quality audio description? Or are you fine with just saying, yeah, fuck the blind people? So I'm gonna give French Girl, I'm gonna say it's a B minus. It's Zach Braff mostly just does Zach Braff throughout the film, and it's mostly charming. But it feels like it's a one-time watch that will charm you enough for a one time, and you won't ever need to see it again. But yeah, I would give this a positive. I'm not gonna say it's bad and be like, no, it's a little formulaic, but yeah. So there you go, French Girl. Check it out if you want. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.